Welcome back. I'm Donna Francavilla. This is not the voice of Richard Dixon. It isn't low and beautiful. It is a little higher pitched. I am a freelance reporter with CBS Radio News National. I've covered stories throughout Birmingham for the past 20 years. I'm also the owner of Frankly Speaking Communications, and that is my boutique company. I am in the studio with Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson is the honorary consul of Japan. He is a diplomat. He is an ambassador. Are you allowed to drive up one-way streets and not be arrested? Is that the perk of having this position, Mark? Let's tell the truth. What's the fun part?
That's not. No way. The law applies to everyone.
Okay, all right. But there is an upside to don't you have an ambassador's type status?
It's a diplomat status.
It's a diplomat,
but it's
okay.
Not on the level of an ambassador or anything like that.
So I don't have to kiss your ring or anything.
No,
You don't get a security detail.
No one bowed when I came.
No one bowed. Oh, man. Well, but you do have some perks and you do have some responsibilities, right?
Exactly. It's a very good time to be Honorary Consul General of Japan here in Alabama. Michael Johnson, my friend and counterpart, who's Honorary Consul General of Germany, will tell you it's a very good time to be Honorary Consul General of Germany as well. So a lot of things internationally going on from a business, cultural, educational side in Alabama for our two countries.
Well, now, the mayor, didn't he work something out with Japan? Forgive me, with Germany, like a direct flight or something? Didn't he take a recent trip?
He's working on that.
He's working on that.
There's been talk about that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, our airport can handle that.
Okay.
And there's traffic that would go back and forth. I would like to be on that.
And the reason why we need a direct flight to and from certain regions in Germany is?
It would bring more business growth into Birmingham.
Okay.
Look at what happened in Atlanta. But going back to what I mentioned a minute ago about being Honorary Consul General of Japan at this time, I come behind a fellow who is legendary in the business and civic community of Alabama, Elmer Harris. Mm-hmm. Elmer Harris was former chair and CEO of Alabama Power, did a phenomenal job, got Alabama Power into the economic development business. One of the people who recruited Mercedes, and we know how the state has grown on that sector globally since that time. But Elmer decided that he needed to step down, and he and the governor and the Japanese government asked me if I would come in and step in and take over that position. And when I did, it was right at the time that we were looking at having a big conference called SUS Japan come to Alabama. It's a huge business conference that we can talk about a little bit later, but also some great direct investment into the area. Daiichi, which is a huge Japanese-owned insurance firm, over the course of about 5 years, worked with the leadership of Protective Life. Protective Life has been a homegrown insurance company.
That's Birmingham-based, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Born and based. And the leadership there, phenomenal leadership that has stayed in place through the purchase of Protective Life by Daiichi. They successfully have melded those two cultures and those two companies together. But, Donna, that was a $5.7 billion investment into this city.
Meaning what?
Well,
I mean, now, if I'm the average Birminghamian, how does that affect me?
Well, I'll tell you this from an average Japanese.
Okay.
70 trillion yen. That is a tremendous amount. 5.7 billion, larger than the GDP of many countries in the world.
Mm.
What it did was it showed that there was a true Birmingham company that was born here out of great leadership, good controlled growth, and whenever Daiichi went around the world looking about where are new markets for us, they chose Birmingham. And they chose Birmingham because of Protective, and they chose Protective because of Birmingham.
So does the Japanese company own Protective?
Yes. Protective was taken, I believe it was in February, they're taken off the stock exchange, and all the shares were purchased by Daiichi. Wow. I don't know if you know this, but there are 71 Japanese-owned firms in the state of Alabama, 114 Japanese-affiliated firms. Now, I was in Atlanta back in December, and I mentioned that. And this one fellow said, well, here in Georgia, we have like 300 Japanese firms here. I said, that's exactly right, but 71 Japanese-owned firms in a state that has less population than one town in Georgia, Atlanta. So if you look at the economic impact of Japan on the state of Alabama, it's much greater than it would be in Georgia. Over $200 million a year.
Is this a reciprocal agreement? In other words, do we have a lot of Alabamians investing in Japan also?
I don't know. I think those, when you look at, that's called outward investment. The Alabama Department of Commerce, under the lead of Secretary Greg Canfield, they've done a phenomenal job of opening up markets globally for Alabama companies. I don't know the statistics there. I just know the Japanese side of it, as I am honorary consul of Japan.
Now, wasn't there a new factory somewhere in Alabama? I seem to remember it was announced several years ago that Japan was opening.
There's several.
Are there several?
Okay. Here's one that happened back not long after the governor came in, about a little over 4 years ago. Golden Dragon. Golden Dragon is down in southwest Alabama, in Thomasville, and they're a Chinese company, and they came into an economically depressed area. I've been down there. I've visited them several times. And about 1 million square foot of plant, they create copper tubing that is shipped all over the world from Thomasville, Alabama.
Well, I think some of that copper tubing they might is very valuable because people are stealing it.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, my goodness. Well, if you have a question for Mark Jackson, you can call 944-1070, 944-1070. I'm Donna Francavilla, filling in for the great Richard Dixon, who I think is in Biloxi spending lots of money, trying to win money, and probably having a great time. And we're just talking about, is Birmingham an international city? Are we poised and ready for it? And if anybody can answer that question, it is Mark. He is the honorary consul of Japan. And he's also one of the 6 people who will be sitting on the on the Birmingham Cities, Sister Cities International Board of Directors. It's a mouthful.
It's actually the Sister Cities International Board.
Sister
Cities.
23
people, and 23 people from around the world.
Okay, from around the world. Okay.
And I am privileged to represent Birmingham because I'm the only Birminghamian that's ever sat on that board. And I think really it's probably good to have a good little southernness on that board.
A little politeness?
Exactly. A little yes, ma'am. That's right.
Are you schooling everyone on good manners?
Some of those Yankees, it's tough to get through to.
Yeah, boy, I tell you.
That's right. You asked a question a while ago as we started about, are we there?
Yeah.
We are. We are. There are things that we have got to continue to move forward on. Infrastructure. We need a transit system. And it doesn't need to be buses. It needs to be some light rail. We really need the Alabama Department of Transportation not to repair those bridges downtown. They need to move those bridges north of town because it cuts off, it splits our our central business district right in half.
Right in half.
And it was planned that way years ago, but we've had time to change that. With Corridor X coming in, there's a great way that we can change it. You can sink it, put a park over the top of it. But the fact is, Birmingham is there, but just like my boys, I have a 14-year-old boy that all of a sudden over the last 3 years shot up to be 6 feet tall, great basketball player. But the shoes that he wore 2 years ago, he can't wear them now. It's growing pains. But guess what? Birmingham is growing.
It doesn't seem that we have the option, though, to stop the work that's going to be done on 2059. My understanding is if it hasn't already started, it's about to begin, and we have to check with AlDOT to find out for sure. But they're saying we can't afford to wait. The bridges are crumbling. It's becoming dangerous. That action must be taken. So, we may have to do this twice.
That's the problem. If you look at a 60-year plan or something like that, I'm 53. Will I be around in 60 years to see him?
Well, God willing, you will. There's no guarantee of it, though.
It's something that should have been started and addressed years ago.
Right.
But it wasn't. And it's not just Birmingham that didn't address it. It's the state as a whole. And who would have thought? And
it's national, too, because there's been no money federally.
That's correct. That's correct. But let's go back to 1996. We hosted the Olympic soccer. The Olympics,
yes, we did.
The world came to Birmingham
for at least
Olympics
some of
like.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, we had 6 less major hotels in downtown area, and we handled that fine. Now, look at what we've got coming up in 2021.
The World Games.
Exactly. The year after the Olympics are in Japan. The world will come to Birmingham. Is Birmingham ready now? Probably. But will Birmingham be ready in 2021? Yes. City leadership has said it'll be ready. And if you look at what this administration, under Mayor Bell, Jonathan Austin, all the others that are responsible for the growth of the city has grown. You know, do you know that we have the oldest and the newest baseball park in the world right here in Birmingham?
That's a pretty cool statistic.
It is.
And they're building a new museum that is dedicated to that old park.
Yes, they are.
And I'm not sure when that's slated to open.
The mayor will be here later today. Ask him that question.
Ask him. Actually, we have an impressive lineup, including Mayor Bell coming at 4 o'clock. He'll be on between 4 and 4:30. Former Representative Paul DeMarco between 4:30 and 5. And probably the most entertaining person, no slight to you, of the day will be Charles Barkley when he comes on at around the 3 o'clock hour. He just had some major surgery, so, we're hoping he's not too drugged up, but it could be fun if he is. So,
exactly. Well, Barkley's fun anyway.
Yes, you never know what he's going to say.
Well, fun for you. I have to censor him if he gets...
You'll be hitting that 7-second button, that delay button, won't you?
That's right.
Hey, if you want to join in the conversation, call 944-1070. If you're just enjoying listening in, keep doing so. We're happy to have you. I'm Donna Francavilla, and in the studio with me is Mark Jackson. He is the CEO of Morrison Conferencing, which is an international company. He is also the Honorary Consul General of Japan and now on the board of the Sister Cities International Committee and is in a position to really make a difference in the future of Birmingham. And he's not someone that you hear about. We hear about the mayor. We hear from, as you mentioned, Jonathan Austin. We hear from certain people because they're elected officials. They're out there in the public eye. But you're generally not. I mean, you are to some degree, but you're one of those people that, I don't know, carries a big stick. What was that phrase?
Kingmaker.
Kingmaker.
Tread softly and carry a big stick.
There you go. That's the quote I was thinking of. Yeah.
I wouldn't claim kingmaker, really, because Birmingham has plenty of kings, and they do a great job. You look at us. We don't do a lot of turf war here. It's a lot of communities together, and these communities work together. You look at what happened to get the baseball park from Hoover.
That was a major
downtown.
ordeal.
And it was. And it was 2 mayors, Tony Patelis of Hoover, William Bell from Birmingham, cooperating, and look at what's happened.
And don't forget about the hotel tax that made that happen.
Right.
Without an increase of 3.5% on the hotel lodging tax, there would have been no money with which to do that.
That's right.
I was reading up a little bit on those statistics, and it seems that Birmingham doesn't seem any worse for the wear. People still come to visit the city despite the increased tax.
More.
Well, Austin has given me the ever famous "got to take a break," which means I have to be quiet. Please come back, and you'll stay with us till the 2 o'clock hour, right?
Oh yeah.
So great, fabulous. So let's hear more from Mark Jackson. We're going to take a break, and join us when we come back on the other side. You're listening to WAPI.